Hello and welcome everyone to our special monk life event, Dragons and Bodhisattvas, a Dharma exploration. So today we're going to be looking at a kind of traditional Buddhist text, a Mahayana text on this Bodhisattva way of life and this way of transforming our suffering to peace, kind of addressing the situation in through a variety of ways and means from a Buddhist perspective. So that is what we are going to look at, to read through, to explore today. I will share the reading that we're going to be looking at in the Discord channel in just a moment. So if you're on Discord, you can pick up that reading and follow along. And this event will be very much focused on looking at exploring, tasting these teachings. So we can kind of find out what they mean to us, and maybe we'll find out that we don't like dragons, we don't like bodhisattvas, and we'll be on our way, and that's also okay. But the opportunity is here to grow and learn through these wisdom teachings and also to discuss. So especially if you're here on the Discord, and it's so great to see many people are here, it's an opportunity for us to discuss and unpack and explore this text, this teaching. Okay? So we are going to begin at the 10-minute mark for those people who may be watching in the present future. So we'll start about 8 minutes from now. But if you're watching the recording of this, which of course no one who's watching watching right now is watching in the future or the past, watching the past and the future, you're watching it now. So just settle in, and then if you are watching the recording, you can move ahead to the 10-minute mark, and that's when we will officially begin. Okay? All right. So hello to everyone who's here. Abby, Braxton, Katal, Deanna, Famo, Gold, Josh, Lucas, Miss Maddie, Phoenix, Stacy, Tom, Trina, U6. Wow. So many people, so many beings joining today. This is really great. Anyone like to say hello? Say how you're doing, if you like.
What's up, everybody?
Hello, I am doing well.
I'm actually in Burma right now, so it's not really good here. But I'm trying to stay positive.
A tough time in Myanmar and Burma, yeah, for sure. Very tough time there. Whereabouts in Burma are you?
In the main city,
Oh, you're in
Yangon.
Yangon. Okay. I hope that you'll be safe there. So I will share the text that we're going to be looking at today. From the text is called Mind of the Bodhisattva, and we'll see how far we get through it. It's not for sure how much, but going to explore it. Okay, here we go. I upload the file. So you can open that up on your own if you want to and follow along that way. I don't think it's anyone's first time joining. Everybody looks a little bit familiar at least. Tom, it's good to see you again. Hope you're well. And Phoenix, it's good to see you too. Hey, Abby. And hey there, Ali. We've got just another 5 minutes, so everyone can kind of settle in, and that's when we will begin at that 5-minute mark. That's really convenient to give people time to join us And then also, kind of just to settle into the space. Hi there, Fung. I hope you're doing very well. Fung on YouTube. And also Daniel and Hunter and Bart and Shauna, Trina, and Liz also on YouTube. So that's great. Big group today. And Famo. It's nice to see you, Famo. Oh, and Kit's here too. How great. Glad that you're here, Kit. Hello, Mariana. If you're watching on YouTube, you're definitely invited to say hello. Hey there, Josh. And Zeros. Nice to see you, Zeros. Hey there, Jacob. So this text that we're looking at today is just kind of something that was offered to me or brought up to me by a dear friend of mine who is a fellow monastic. Hey, Don. And I was kind of looking at it to work on preparing a Dharma talk through it, but it's not so much my style, it's a little bit too formal for me. So what I thought would really be nice is to kind of look at it together, to unpack it and explore it together as much as we are able to. So you ask questions and sharing, and I'll try to add in the small amount of wisdom and insight I have to it as we go along. So a few different terms to try and characterize them and explain them so we're all on the same page. But please take up the invitation to interrupt, take up the invitation to speak out, to say, stop, what are you doing, what is this about, so that we can explore it together. Especially if you're a member of the community and you're a practitioner, then it's really wonderful to hear what you have to say and to explore this stuff together. And that invitation is not meant for random people to come in and start protesting, but really as us as members of a community to discuss and explore these teachings from our heart and to kind of rely on one another's wisdom to develop and to grow. Does anyone have any questions before we officially get started? And there are three ways to interact. There are three ways to speak up and to speak out. The most lovely way, at least for me, is if you use your voice in the voice chat here on Discord. Secondly, you can use the voice text channel on Discord. So you can write a message in voice text, and I keep an eye on that, so I'll read that. And then also, if you're watching through YouTube, you can simply write a comment, write a question, share through YouTube. Okay, so those are the ways that we can communicate and connect with one another. Hey there, Trina. Trina and I see Deanna there. Vanessa. Hey, Vanessa. Welcome. All right. So 20 seconds from now, liftoff is going to happen. Right. Okay. Hello, everyone. I am so grateful that you are here. We are officially going to start our live special event, Dragons and Bodhisattvas, a Dharma Exploration. So when it comes to these teachings, when it comes to dragons and bodhisattvas, when it comes to exploration, um, we don't just explore through the intellect. We don't just kind of secondarily or tertiarily, thirdly, explore the nature of our mind or the nature of reality, but we really explore from a kind of embodiment. We're really here right now. And if lightning strikes, it's only going to strike now. So we'll start our practice together by just a few moments of settling in, grounding ourselves, connecting with the body, connecting with our sincerity, our intention to be here. We didn't just wander into an alleyway and are kind of, well, time for me to go. We have an intention to be here. We have a sincerity to be here and to be embodied. Okay? So we approach this in a very meditative way. We want to meet the dragons and the bodhisattvas in a meditative way. So we can start that meditative way by just taking a moment to adjust our posture, So we find a kind of comfortable, stable position for our body. We bring some emphasis to our body and not to getting attached to the body, but we put our focus, we put our awareness on the body, and we find that comfortable, stable position, kind of so we can put the body down, so we can sit the body down. And once we find that comfortable, stable position for our body, we can take a few really deep, really sincere, really conscious breaths. And so when we breathe in this way, kind of doing two things. One, we are bringing the mind home to the body. So we're really establishing ourselves in this embodiment, in this being present, in this being right here and right now. We are also setting our intention and connecting with our heart, our sincerity to be here. As we breathe in deeply and consciously and allow the body to settle. And allow our sincerity and our heart to arrive here at this moment. Breathing and being with the body. Breathing and being with our heart, our sincerity at this moment. This experience of grounded curiosity, grounded exploration, just breathing and connecting with our body, our heart, our mind, and our sincerity. Simply breathing and being aware at this moment. more and more we detach from the story of our life, outside circumstances, any expectations about ourselves or this situation. Taking this as a deeply precious moment to breathe and be aware, to connect with our nature, and to connect with reality itself right here, right now. Allowing our hearing to simply be hearing. Allowing our breathing to simply be breathing. With each breath, the mind coming home to the body. With each breath, our heart totally alive, totally here. As we go through our reading, our exploration of these wisdom teachings together, it's really essential, it's really important that we stay close to the breath, to the body, to this embodiment, so that we can receive these teachings, or at least contemplate, consider these teachings, not from our Mountain Dew fast food mind, but from our heart, from our sincerity, from our depth. And we can contemplate and consider these teachings together. So let's begin to explore and read through and take a close look at these teachings together. The title of this reading, and this might be two parts, might be something like that, but the title of this reading is Giving Rise to the 10 Kinds of Minds of the Bodhisattva. And the discourse or the guidance, the teachings on the 10 wholesome ways of action. We have a very strong idea in Buddhism that when we act skillfully, when we act in a a wholesome way. It's very powerful healing balm for our suffering, for our stress, for our anxiety, for our confusion. So we see here on the first page, homage to the original teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. We appreciate the Buddha, and also a short verse here from the Dharmapada, which is very traditional, kind of poetic Buddhist teachings. And this is a introduction and also a kind of guideline for how we consider the wisdom teachings we call the Dharma. How do we consider them? How do we listen to them? As like a deep spring, clear, still, pure, and lucid, are the wise hearing Dharma, or are the wise people that hear skillful teachings, skillful encouragements that lead to an ending of suffering, and with a pure mind rejoicing. So the wise hearing skillful teachings are clear, still, pure, and lucid, and rejoice with a pure mind. So page 1, welcome to follow along and to read along if you like. The giving rise of the 10 kinds of mind of the Bodhisattva. So right off the bat, what is a Bodhisattva? In Theravada Buddhism, so there's two major schools of Buddhism. There's the Theravada, which is more like Indian, Southeast Asian Buddhism, and then Mahayana Buddhism, which is like a Chinese style of Buddhism. They both have the same fundamental teachings, but some different aspects to it. So in Theravada Buddhism, a Bodhisattva refers to anyone who has made a resolution or a commitment to become a Buddha, or rather, who has made the resolution, set the intention to end suffering. So someone who has brought up or planted the seed to end suffering, we can say, has made that resolution, is considered a Bodhisattva. And to become enlightened, to become a Buddha in Buddhism, is not like a transcendental chakra, seeing colors, hearing colors kind of thing. It is to end suffering. So in Theravada, a Bodhisattva refers to anyone who has made a resolution or a commitment to end suffering. Not only to alleviate it, but really to end it. I'm going to end suffering. I have that intention. In Mahayana Buddhism, a Bodhisattva refers to anyone or someone who has generated a bodhicitta. So this is a kind of spontaneous, present-minded wish to attain Buddhahood, which is the end of suffering, to attain enlightenment, not only for oneself, but for the benefit of all beings. So really we can understand this bodhisattva mind is someone who has set or planted a seed, an intention in their heart, in their mind, to end suffering, to alleviate suffering. And we could even say that this is one of the main distinctions between Mahayana Buddhism and Theravada Buddhism, at least academically or philosophically, this idea that we should focus to attain enlightenment for ourselves, and then the Mahayana idea that we work to enlighten all beings. But both of these go together. You don't need to separate them. So this Bodhisattva ideal is this wish to end suffering. And naturally, we have to start with an intention. Even if you plan to burn the world down, you're not going to have any progress. You're not going to develop in that unless you have an intention to do it. So the intentions that we have in our lives are very, very important. And someone who has the intention to end suffering in Buddhism, we will call a bodhisattva. And probably many of the archetypes, or like the iconography that you've seen as it relates to Buddhism, is representing a great bodhisattva, someone who has basically made this commitment to end suffering and has gone a long, long way in attaining that or developing that. Someone who has pursued and developed that intention to a great degree. And naturally, that's going to be quite special. When we think about someone developing their intention to a great degree, some people have a great intention to become basketball players. If you have that intention, yeah, you're more likely to become quite skilled at being a basketball player, right? And there are certain conditions that some people are more likely to be good at basketball or not. But some people become exceptionally, vividly, almost uncomprehendibly skillful at basketball. So if you are on a court with LeBron James or someone like that, for example, competition isn't even on the table. They have gone beyond the scale of what we normally understand. And so the same, this also relates to this intention to end suffering, not only for oneself, but for all beings. And so we can understand, and what this iconography that we often see represents is these people who have gone very, very far. And naturally, that's inspiring. You see LeBron James, you're quite inspired about this ability this potentiality that human beings have to play basketball, right? So at this point, do we have any questions or comments so far? So if you do have something you want to share, please let me know. The giving rise of the 10 kinds of mind of the Bodhisattva. So now we're going to like a historical teaching. It's kind of like let's say that this would be the religious text of Buddhism. Okay? So going back to the time of the Buddha, what did the Buddha say? Who did he interact with? And what does this look like? So let's go to the Buddha's Bible. The Buddha addressed Maitreya, saying, Maitreya, the 10 minds like this cannot be brought forth by any common, foolish, and unskillful person who is full of defilements. What are the 10? So here, the Buddha says very clearly, these 10 qualities of minds cannot be brought forth by common, foolish, and unskillful beings who are full of defilements. You couldn't bring these qualities of mind forth if you are awash in foolishness, unskillfulness, and defilements, which is basically you're poisoning yourself with unskillful living. Okay? So what are these 10 qualities of mind? Firstly, to give rise to great loving kindness towards all beings with a mind free from injuring and harming. Secondly, to give rise to great compassion towards all beings with a mind free from harassing and vexing. Thirdly, not to spare one's life with regard to all the true dharmas of the Buddha with a mind of rejoicing in protecting them. Fourthly, to develop supreme endurance regarding all dharmas with a mind free from clinging and grasping. So dharmas here is lowercase, so it kind of means all phenomena. So fourthly, to develop supreme endurance regarding all dharmas, all phenomena, with a mind free from clinging and grasping. So let's take it right to meditation, just to bring this one up. You're sitting and you feel a pain in your legs, in your body. And just because of your experience, that meditation is this kind of wise and skillful activity, that it brings a peace and a calm to your life, and that There's an aspect of that meditation that is stillness and endurance, this ability to be with suffering without being overcome by it, without being stuck by it. So to develop supreme endurance regarding all phenomena with a mind free from clinging and grasping. So to just sit, to just be at peace with whatever you happen to be experiencing right now, especially in a meditation, without clinging or grasping. Oh, I don't like this, I need to change, I need to tense, I need to fix, I need to get rid of this experience so I can be at peace. But rather to develop supreme endurance regarding all phenomena with a mind free from any quality of clinging or grasping. Fifthly, not to be covetous for gain, support, and respect with a mind that esteems the pure bliss of mind. So not to be covetous for gain, support, and respect. With a mind that esteems, holds up, lifts up the pure bliss of peace. So maybe having a very deep value of peace. And we'll go more into each one of these in the texts. We will expound upon them. Sixthly, to search for Buddha wisdom at all times with a mind free from forgetfulness and negligence. So what is a Buddha wisdom? That is your peace mind. That is your awareness mind. That is your wisdom mind. It's not some kind of religious artifact or encouragement for religiosity. It's really not. It's talking about your awakened mind, your peace mind. So, sixthly, to search for Buddha wisdom at all times with a mind free from forgetfulness and negligence. Seventhly, to be towards all beings reverential and respectful with a mind free from contempt and disdain. Eighthly, not to hold worldly discussions, but give rise to a determined mind regarding the factors of illumination, factors leading to peacifying your mind and your experience at this moment. Ninthly, to plant all good roots with a pure mind that is not adulterated and stained. Tenthly, to give up and discard all the characteristics as regards all the Tathagatas, giving rise to a mind of continuous recollection. That's a bit of a interesting one. I'll be curious to see how they further unpack that later in the text. So Maitreya, this is called the giving rise of the 10 kinds of minds of the Bodhisattva, remembering that a Bodhisattva, especially a great Bodhisattva, someone who embodies these 10 minds, is someone who has made a powerful determination, a powerful intention, and is following through on that to end suffering for oneself, for all beings. So Maitreya, this is called the giving rise of the 10 kinds of mind of the Bodhisattva. It is because out of this mind that one will obtain rebirth in the world of the highest bliss of Amitabha Buddha. So that kind of means that it is because out of this mind, out of these qualities of mind, out of embodying this experience, you will find yourself in a position of being able to totally wake up, to totally be enlightened. So that's the idea of the world of highest bliss, basically putting yourself in a situation where you can become enlightened, where you can wake up, where you can establish yourself in peace, rather than waking up in a world or a situation where it's dark and you're not training yourself and you're not taking care of yourself and you haven't prioritized in any way skillful living. And so naturally in that kind of world, in that kind of dominion, it's unbelievable. It's very, very difficult to wake up, to experience awakening in that situation. So if a person regarding these 10 kinds of mind follows them and achieves one-pointedness of mind, if they were to have a longing to be reborn in that Buddha world and would not obtain birth there, this would be an impossibility. So it's simply saying that if you live skillfully, you're going to experience a skillful result. If you act in accordance with these kinds of teachings, you are going to wake up, for sure. There's no doubt about that. You're going to experience peace, for sure. Okay, so we've gone through this list, the giving rise of the 10 kinds of mind of the Bodhisattva. Does anyone have some questions or comments or sharing about this so far? And we're going to start unpacking them one by one as the text continues. Kit says, I feel the 10 minds mentioned here is somewhat intimidating. Well, it can be intimidating but also encouraging. So naturally, LeBron James, when it comes to basketball, talk about intimidating. I mean, you're not going to beat LeBron James in basketball unless lightning strikes LeBron James, right? And even then, you're not going to have a good chance. But knowing that LeBron James is also a human, knowing that these characteristics, these 10 characteristics, are human characteristics, that we have a connection to them, we have a relationship to them, we're encouraged, we're inspired, we are empowered. These aren't abstract concepts. They aren't in a different language. Even though they are, we can say, lofty and somewhat intimidating, they're also inviting and encouraging because we can embody these principles. We can develop these states of mind. Very encouraging. Okay, Miss Maddie says very encouraging. Anyone else have a question or a comment so far? So Vanessa says, I imagine it might be less intimidating if you see it as a long step-by-step route. So Vanessa, for me, I'm the opposite. If I see it as as a long step-by-step route, I'm so intimidated I could hardly act. I like to see it as a kind of spontaneous awakening of Buddha nature, or bodhicitta, this intention to end suffering. So we all have different kind of sensibilities for what intimidates us or encourages us. So let's continue on with this teaching. So continuing on the discourse on the 10 wholesome ways of action. And we continue to have this kind of format of, Buddhist Bible. This is kind of Buddhist Bible style format. So you take from it what you will. Thus I have heard, and actually this starting, if you ever hear like a Buddhist teaching or a Buddhist story beginning with thus I have heard, that means it's basically Buddhist Bible kind of, it's in that realm of being in the Buddhist Bible. We don't really have a Buddhist Bible per se, but when something starts out with thus I have heard, it's referencing this very original practice going back to the time of the Buddha where they didn't write anything down. They memorized it and they chanted it, the monks, for, they say, hundreds of years, and then eventually it was put down into paper. So that's why it starts with, "Thus have I heard," because it was this continuation of chanting and memorization. Thus I have heard. At one time, the Buddha stayed in the palace of the Dragon King of the Ocean, together with an assembly of 8,000 great monks and 32,000 Bodhisattvas and Mahasattvas altogether. So the Buddha is together with the Dragon King of the Ocean, who sounds great, together with 8,000 monks and 32,000 bodhisattvas and mahasattvas. I think mahasattva is like a great bodhisattva. At that time, the world-honored one, the enlightened one, the Buddha, told the Dragon King, saying, "Because all beings have different consciousness and thoughts, they perform two different actions. And as a consequence, there is the turning around in all the different courses of existence." So, courses of existence, rebirth. We have this Buddhist idea of rebirth. It's a good way to say it as courses of existence. So there's 6 main ones. The hell realms, the realm of the hungry ghosts, the realm of animals, the realm of the titans, the human realm, the realm of radiant beings. So what are these realms? What is that situation? Well, I like to see it as a kind of psychological model. So if you do a certain thing, where will you end up? Well, you'll go straight to hell, that's for sure. If you do other things, yeah, you will find yourself in heaven, or you will find yourself in a position of great power, great respect, great wealth, great freedom from pain, and great experience of pleasure. So we can say there are these different realms. And because in Buddhism we don't believe in a fixed self, that when you find yourself in the hell realms, the next moment when you find yourself in the realm of animals, you're no longer the same kind of being. You're no longer that same self, but you are reborn. This moment-to-moment birth and death, you are experiencing this hellish realm self, and then in the next moment, for whatever reason, you may find yourself in a heavenly experience, and now you're experiencing this heavenly realm self, but these two selves we don't necessarily consider are a continuous self-entity, but a moment-to-moment arising and passing away, a moment-to-moment transmigration of energy, cause and effect. Not so much this permanent soul, fixed self that is continuous. Anyone have a question about that? Okay, so Andreas says that for Andreas, those realms are actual spaces where beings live. Yeah, you can see it in all kinds of different ways, all kinds of different perspectives. Mike Knowles says, "My question has to do with the word bodhisattva and how it, and terms like arahat, relate to samyak sambuddha and pratyeka Buddha." It's just different kinds of awakening, different kinds of embodiment of a high degree of commitment on the path, we can say. And so we give certain names and certain kind of we give a certain representation to people who approach the path in different ways, kind of a different intention, but also very, very devoted. And so they have a deep experience of awakening, but they're not necessarily doing the same kind of things with that awakening. So a pratyeka Buddha would be an awakened being that does not, someone who has experienced enlightenment, deep, deep ending of suffering, but does not talk about that, does not share about that. And a bodhisattva is someone who not only has that deep intention to end suffering, but also shares that with other beings. So it's very much related to different degrees of investment and commitment to that intention of ending suffering and the success that comes from that. All right. So, because all beings have a different consciousness and thoughts, they perform too different actions. And as a consequence, there is the turning around in all the different courses of existence. So we are performing different actions, and because of that, we performing those actions because we having thoughts and this different kinds of conscious experiences, and because of that, there is the turning around of this wheel of birth and death. We are stuck in this place of cause and effect, birth and death. So it's kind of very plain, it's very direct. It says, because all beings have different consciousness and thoughts, kind of individual experiences, because of that, they perform too different actions. And as a consequence, there is the turning around in all the different courses of existence. So it's kind of very plain. O Dragon King, do you see the variety of shapes and appearances in this meeting and in the great ocean? Are they not different from one another? Thus, among all of them, there is none which is not made by the mind. Whether it is brought about by wholesome or unwholesome bodily, verbal, and mental actions. And yet the mind is formless. It cannot be grasped or perceived. But it is the unreal accumulation and arising of all dharmas. So that's a bit of a heavy one. It is the unreal accumulation and arising of all dharmas, which are ultimately without owner, without I and mine. So this idea of mind, it's a particular definition of mind, it's a particular perspective of mind that is the all-inclusive, arising, passing away, and accumulation of all phenomena. So this kind of all-inclusive sphere of awareness, but not as a sphere, as all-inclusivity. So everything is not separate from mind. We can say not separate from awareness, I think is fair. And so all of these dharmas, all of these phenomena that arise and accumulate and pass away are without an owner, without I and mine. So without a separation, without a rigidity, without a separate fixed self. Although that which is manifested by each being according to its actions is not the same, there is nevertheless really no creator in these actions. So, this one is a little bit clear. Even though we have particular disposition, we have particular cause and effect, we have particular qualities of our mind, and because of that we make particular actions, and then we find ourselves rolling around in our own mess, our own realms of heaven and hell, because of our actions, because of our unique perspective, our unique experiences. Although that which is manifested by each being according to its action is not the same, so it is a unique kind of experience, we're not all having that same heaven and hell experience, there is nevertheless really no creator in these actions. So how I bring that back to my life and my experience of it and my perspective of it is that I get myself into a unique kind of trouble maybe with a relationship or with a vexation or a bad habit that I have, an addiction that I have, right? I get myself into my own unique kind of hellish experience. My own kind of unique, unskillful result, unpleasant experience. When I feel that, there's this self-narrative that wraps around that, because I feel that the experience that I'm having in that realm, in that painful experience, directly relates to those actions that I deem to be me, mine, and unique. And so then I'm more and more wrapped up in that self, in that experience, and I'm more and more stuck in making those actions that are going to contribute to more and more rebirth, more and more coming and going out of being, more and more rolling down the hill, head over feet. So thus, among all of them, all of our experiences and all of our embodiments, thus among all of them, there is none which is not made by the mind, this all-inclusive open awareness, we can say. Whether it is brought about by wholesome or unwholesome bodily, verbal, and mental actions. And yet the mind is formless and it cannot be grasped or perceived. But it is the unreal, the empty accumulation and arising of all phenomena, which are ultimately without an owner, without I and mine. Although that which is manifested by each being, according to their actions, is not the same, there is nevertheless really no creator in these actions. Therefore, all phenomena are inconceivable and inexpressible. Their own nature is phantom-like. So, even though you have worked yourself into your own personal hell or your own personal heaven, I don't know, maybe Bill Gates is watching the YouTube live stream, and they've worked themselves, they find themselves in this amazing, wealthy, powerful situation. It's not just unpleasant situations that this refers to. All dharmas, all phenomena, all experiences, all coming in and going out of being are inconceivable and inexpressible, cannot be grasped. Their own nature is phantom-like. So whether you have $1 billion in your mansion, or if you're living homeless and you're going through deep addiction, all of the phenomena are inconceivable and inexpressible. Their own nature is phantom-like. You couldn't get a hold of it. The wise ones, knowing this, ought to cultivate wholesome actions. The wise ones, knowing this, ought to cultivate wholesome actions. So to get with it, to get involved, is a good idea. And you should get involved in a wholesome way. So the wise ones, knowing this, ought to cultivate wholesome actions. Through this, the aggregates, the sense bases, and the elements that will be given rise to will all be upright, and those who will see them will not grow tired of them. So we're holding the relative and the absolute together here. We're not saying, oh, everything is empty, everything is a phantom, let me go and run around naked outside. That's not the teaching here. It goes right from that, totally as tripped out realization as you can imagine in enlightenment and spirituality and the nature of reality. It goes right to that to the wise ones, people who have a wisdom, knowing this is true, that all phenomena are inconceivable, ungraspable, and inexpressible, that even their own nature, their own self-experience is phantom-like, like a ghost, like a cloud. The wise ones, knowing this, ought to cultivate wholesome actions. Through this, the aggregates, which are matter and mind, nama rupa. There's a matter and there's a mind. Okay? Form, feeling, perception, formations, and consciousness. What makes up a human being? The sense bases, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness. The eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. What we are able to see, the object that we are seeing, what we are able to hear, the objects that we are hearing, the smell object, the object that we are smelling, the taste object that we are tasting, the tactile object that we are feeling. I have a good example for that. Tactile object. This object very tactile. So the tactile object and the mental object, right? The idea, the thought, the story, whatever it is. All these aspects of our human experience that will be given rise to, and all kinds of experiences are going to come up to arise, are going to be upright. They're going to be simple, stable, wholesome. And those who will see them will not grow tired of them. So we will live a supported life. We will live a rich life. We will live a peaceful life, cultivating wholesome actions. You can clean a toilet. You don't need to be you don't even need to know how to read English. You can cultivate wholesome actions. So we have been, let's see, we're coming up on about 40 minutes that we've been going. Does anyone have question, comments so far? Some idea, some concept? What is a wholesome action, and how do we define wholesome actions? Well, you don't define it, you experience it. So doing actions that lead to peace, doing actions that lead to calm, doing actions that when other people see them, they will feel happy, they will feel at peace, they will want to support you, doing those actions. Simple as that. So yes, be simple, clean, be generous, be patient, be kind, be forgiving, these kinds of things. So, although that which is manifested by each being, according to its actions, is not the same, although we have a unique experience that relates to the actions that we take, nevertheless, there is no creator in those actions, no one to blame, no one to get stuck on. Therefore, all phenomena, all dharmas are inconceivable and inexpressible. Their own nature is phantom-like. The wise ones, knowing this, ought to cultivate wholesome actions, skillful actions. You don't need to worry about what those are. You find out what works and what doesn't. And you keep it simple and you keep it practical about what you can do. I was speaking with someone recently and they said, I know about all this suffering in the world, and there's children starving, and there's people who don't have access to clean water, and I feel like, what can I do about this? You can do good deeds right where you are right now. Be practical, be simple. And when we have that feeling of sincerity and intention, it doesn't matter what we do, it's going to have that good result. It's not that being a millionaire and donating a church or a water plant is better than cleaning your toilet. It's all about how you hold your mind. from a Buddhist perspective, one of the most wholesome actions that we can take, some of the best good deeds that we can do, is just to practice meditation, to just sit and to breathe and be aware. And we can do that with people who are suffering. We can do that with our loved ones. We can do that with people who even don't necessarily like us, just to breathe and be aware. And it's a very good way to do wholesome actions. Okay, so let's continue a little bit more with our reading. And then we will finish with a meditation together. So just a little bit more reading and we'll go finish with some meditation. O Dragon King, when you behold the body of the Buddha, born from 100,000 of kotis, special dimensions, what comes up for me is that each molecule, each moment, each experience that we have is so multifaceted. There's so many different perspectives. We couldn't even imagine all of them. And so the body of the Buddha, any of our bodies, are born from these spatial and temporal dimensions of limitless potentiality. You know, we don't exist in a cartoon of America or whatever country we were born in. We're a part of this universal mass of cause and effect and stars, etc. So that's how I understand that. O Dragon King, when you behold the body of the Buddha, born from 100,000 of multifaceted phenomena of merit, good cause and effect, with all the marks adorned, the splendor of its radiance covering the whole of the great assembly, even if there were in immeasurable kotis of Ishvara and Brahma Devas, they would not come again into appearance. I don't know about this. Is a Buddhist Bible. This is very old stuff, so not everything I can really get a hold of, but we'll keep going. Those who look with reverence at the body of the Buddha, how can they not be dazzled? Those who look with appreciation at this Buddha mind, at this awareness mind, at this opportunity to wake up, how can they not be dazzled? You again behold all these great bodhisattvas of marvelous appearance, dignified and pure. So we behold, I mean, think if you have 10 LeBron James lined up in front of you and you really like basketball. Well, we're talking about we really like this idea of ending suffering. And so if we see 10 uncomprehendable LeBron James of ending suffering lined up in front of us, we're going to be pretty bedazzled by it. Or at least I will be. So you again behold all these great bodhisattvas of marvelous appearance, dignified and pure. All this comes into being entirely through the merit of cultivating wholesome actions. Again, all the powerful ones, like the 8 classes of devas and dragons and such like, they also come into being because of the merits of wholesome actions. So all empowered beings, all ideal experiences, everything that we want to experience, everything that is ideal in the world, comes about through wholesome actions, comes about through doing good deeds, practicing detachment. Detachment from expectation to the results of those good deeds, and especially practicing detachment to those activities that we know are unskillful. We have to start to detaching from them. That's also a wholesome deed. So all the powerful ones, like the 8 classes of beings and dragons, if you want to be, it's saying this, if you want to be a Buddha dragon, all those Buddha dragons only come into being because of the merits, the effects of wholesome actions. Now, all beings in the great ocean are of course and mean shapes and appearances, so subtle and fine appearances. They are all, whether small or large, performed unwholesome bodily, verbal, and mental actions out of all kinds of thoughts from their own minds. Thus, it is that each being receives its own result according to its actions. So all beings throughout space and time, for sure, are of variety of appearances and preferences, tendencies. All beings, there's a lot of variety. But whatever their experience is, they have performed unwholesome, unskillful activities. Thus, it is that each being receives its own result according to its action. So what we are experiencing right now, we can say, is a effect from cause and effect, and not necessarily the breaking of the Ten Commandments by our soul contract, by this self that has broken the commandments of absolute morality or something like this. But through cause and effect, we find ourselves here. So each being receives its own result according to its action. We are having this experience right now because of cause and effect, not because we were a good or a bad person. Skillful and unskillful, helpful and unhelpful. So you ought to practice and to study constantly in this way, this approach, and also to bring beings to a thorough understanding of cause and effect, and to the practice of wholesome actions. So that's one of the biggest ideas that we have in Buddhism, is not, we should worship the enlightened Buddha, or, we need to go to the temple and be with the monks, or we need to become a monk, but 100% that we are experiencing the results of cause and effect, and the practice of wholesome actions, the practice of doing good deeds, of being skillful in our lives, lessens our suffering, gives a wholesome result. In this way, you must have unshakable right view, right approach, right understanding, and you must not fall again into the views of annihilation and eternity. Oh, I am nothing. Oh, I am everything. I am continuous. Not falling into either nihilism or eternalism. As to the fields of merit, you rejoice in them, respect them, and support them. Because of this, you will also be respected and supported by all beings, high and low. So do not fall again into the idea of we'll end the reading here. Do not fall again into the idea of a permanent fixed self, of your movie. Don't fall into that, but also don't fall into the idea or the perspective of no you, no accountability, no self. Because actually the teaching in Buddhism is non-self, which is just this. Both just this and what is this? What's happening? So don't fall into annihilation or eternity. Don't fall into nihilism or, eternalism. Now, if you take up this practice, if you start doing good deeds, if you practicing a meditation, if you have a relationship with other practitioners, if you living a wholesome and a skillful life, if you putting in that work, well, what's going to happen? You are going to find yourself in a field of merit. You are going to find yourself in a field of stability, peace, healthy relationships, joy, happiness, peace. So as to those fields of merit, or as to those fields of good effect, you rejoice in them. You celebrate them. You respect them. And you support them. Because of this, you will be respected and supported by all beings. Okay. So just to share a few words from our members, Gold, such a wonderful member of the community, and shares ripples through the pond. our actions echo through reality forever? Do your ripples cause suffering or relieve suffering? I would say for me, a little bit of both. Yeah. But I think it's important that we keep in mind it's not about fixing it or being perfect or not causing suffering and always relieving suffering. A major part of it is our intention. How uncommon is it for someone to have a consistent intention in their moment to moment actions and activities to relieve suffering, to be aware when they are causing suffering, and to give their attention to that. And that has the effect. And Mike says, if you stop moving, you stop making ripples. Wonderful. So that's what we're going to do. Is there any final words before we take up our meditation? Just a few final minutes of meditation to wrap things up. All right, so as we are giving just a few more moments of space for if anyone wants to share or ask a question, let's go ahead and take some of these moments to adjust our posture. So to readjust and kind of find a comfortable meditation position. Okay, so taking that moment or two to find a comfortable, stable position for our body, and this is how we always um, began the practice of meditation, is to take a moment and kind of find a comfortable position for our body. That's always how we have to do it. So taking a moment to find that. Closing our eyes if we feel comfortable to. And with some awareness of, we've been here listening to this text and kind of reading it and receiving it together. With an awareness of that, kind of bring into your mind and your heart to give up, to let go, to detach from everything we just experienced. And if there was any merit, if there was any wisdom there, if there was anything that we valued in that, to kind of make this commitment to offer that out to all beings, to the people around us. Just giving up, letting go, detaching from any self that's holding on to what we just listened to, what we just worked on. And as we give up and let go of the mind, just breathing, just being aware. whatever we are experiencing, whatever we are noticing, seeing it as wind. Wind happening in space. Breathing and being aware, being as a space. Breathing and being aware. Bringing our hands together, if you will like, we make a short prayer, a short commitment here. May I be at peace. May those around me be at peace. May those who are far away be at peace. May all beings be at peace. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, thank you so much everyone for joining me today. Please do remember that this practice is as simple as breathing and being aware, being kind, patient, and generous moment to moment. Simple, clear, not complicated. Okay? Thank you for joining everyone. It was great to see so many faces and everybody participating. Okay? So we'll end the live stream on YouTube. And if anyone has some questions here on Discord, you can stick around and ask, but that'll be the end, okay?
Thank you, Bante. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Bante.
You're welcome.